Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Pavani. Today is 17th October. I hope you all are doing good, my dear friends. Today we have a few important articles to go through. The first one is Istanbul mystery. It's a big international topic at present, right? It's a talk of the town, you can say, and it's based on this person here that you can see on your screen. His name is Jamal Khashoggi. He's a very famous journalist. He is the man who took interviews of Osama bin Laden as well. And he was very famous in this part of the world, this West Asia. He is quite famous, particularly in Saudi Arabia, in other Gulf countries as well. He's quite famous a journalist. Now, Free Jamal. This one stands for his disappearance, right? The people are protesting. People are requesting or urging Saudi Arabia to release Jamal Khashoggi. What's going on with him? Basically, it was at this place, right? He entered this place. This place is in Istanbul. It's Saudi Arabia's consulate office. And as you can see here, the flag of Saudi Arabia a couple of days ago. You were asked a question, flag-based question. So here you can see it on your screen. And the other thing is I also asked you about MBS, that is Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. His picture was there as a research. Remember a couple of just 2 days ago when we started this new way of doing research and going through or taking geographies of various different countries. So today when you have Saudi Arabia in news, this will help you a lot. All those things that you have gone through, all those things that you have read in the comment section, all those things that you have added in the comment section will help you in understanding this whole situation. You know exactly which part of the world we are talking about. If I tell you that Turkey is not happy with Saudi Arabia, then you would be knowing whether Turkey is sharing a border with it or not. If it is not sharing, then which are the countries that are falling in between and things like that, So all this, one by one steps, this incremental steps, this help you. This is the way of understanding geopolitics, and this is the way of understanding the whole world. And one of the most important thing is to go through maps and geography of various different things. Based on geography, you can understand the culture. As you can see here, a lady here. Just take one example. Just observe. Use this power of observation. The lady here, she is wearing a black coat, right? So clearly you can see from, if you observe the clouds, then you see that it's a bit of cold region that we are talking about. So Istanbul is reasonably speaking bit cold than then generally speaking average temperature of our country, India. And you can see here she's wearing a black overcoat. So clearly it's a cold region, isn't it? So without going through basic or you can say without going through some books as well, you can at least have a good educational judgment or guess about a particular place. So this is something that you will understand after a couple of months of practice. Anyways, so Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi Arabian journalist, he entered this building, but he never came out. So that's the thing. He never came out, and the reason why it is believed that either he is killed or he is abducted by Saudi Arabia is because he has been critical. He has wrote so many articles in this very famous newspaper called Washington Post. Washington Post is a newspaper that you find in various different countries, right? It's a very famous global newspaper, and he used to write columns. Jamal used to write columns in Washington Post, and he was earlier on as well in the past too when he was working for various different organizations. This news organization, he was sacked by some organization because he wrote something true but something critical about powerful people in Saudi Arabia. So this is not the first time, but this time it's very serious. He wrote about Mohammed bin Salman, and now we don't know where he is. USA, Turkey, United Nations, together all these three parties are putting pressure on Saudi Arabia. And it's very strange, isn't it? It's very, you can say, sister of Saudi Arabia, that after 13 days, it allowed this Turkish official to search the consulate premises. The thing with the consulate and embassy or high commissions is that you cannot enter a building, right? This building belongs to Saudi Arabia. It's in Istanbul, that is a big city of Turkey, but then as well you cannot enter it because as per Vienna Convention, it is protected and you cannot breach this trust, this protection. So no country will breach this premises of various different embassies and consulate and High Commission's office. But it took 13 days, so itself it indicates that something bad is going on, something fishy is going on over here. And the other thing is, this MBS, that is Mohammed bin Salman, he is trying to project himself, or what people were hoping that he will bring a new change in the country. Saudi Arabia is a very traditional country, very conservative. And if we see it from India's perspective, see, our whole upbringing is in this democratic setup. So we find it very odd, and it looks a bit more harsh, and indeed it is harsh as well. To live in Saudi Arabia, you have to follow so many various different rules, and particularly for ladies, it's not a good place because till now they were not allowed to drive. You cannot step out of your house without a male person. Either it should be your brother or your husband or father. So you have religious police, and anyways, we are not going into details of all these things here. But see, Saudi Arabia is a country that is having huge amount of money, but when it comes to human capital, it's lacking. And we have discussed this thing many a times, and now I'm sure you know this thing for sure. And we have very good example here, Saudi Arabia, that a country that is having huge amount of natural resources, particularly oil, right? And it has earned huge amount of money by selling this oil. So in terms of money, no problem at all. But when it comes to human capital, we find that it's not having this human capital. And this is one of the main reasons why even today, having this much money, Saudi Arabia is known as a third world country. So that's the most important thing, and people are seeking human capital development, and that's what youngsters of Saudi Arabia are expecting from this prince Mohammed bin Salman. But he has projected, I believe, or his real face is out in public now. It's very strange, and it's very interesting as well that US, a old friend of Saudi Arabia, right? USA has stood with Saudi Arabia various different occasions during various different difficult situations as well. USA has been there for Saudi Arabia, but this behavior of Saudi Arabia has created this anger in Donald Trump administration, and Mr. Donald Trump has warned for severe punishment if Riyadh was found to be responsible for the disappearance of this journalist, because at the end of the day he was working for USA's Washington Post, belongs to the main company is in USA, and this person migrated to USA as well. This Jamal, he was living in USA since 2017. Now JP Morgan, Blackstone and BlackRock, these are some big names in industry, and they were supposed to have a meeting in Riyadh, that is a big capital of Saudi Arabia, but they have decided to stay out of this investment conference. So that's going to be a big blow for Mohammed bin Salman. International community as well should create some sort of moral pressure or responsibility on this kingdom till it reveals the truth. And here you have a timeline of the incidents that took place, right? So help yourself with this one. It's not important that much, but if you are interested in this thing, then yes, go through it very quickly. You can see here have a couple of jets or a couple of planes, they flew from Saudi to Turkey, back and forth, and then you have some people arriving at this consulate office whilst he was here and things like that. So let's move on. Before moving ahead, I would like to inform all of you that if you are preparing for Uttar Pradesh Public Service Commission exam that is going to take place on 28th October this month, then we have launched our test series. 10 tests will be provided to you in 10 days. And to find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. In case if you are not preparing for UPPSC, then please let other people know about it. If you have someone who is preparing for it, then do let them know. It will help them a lot. With this, you can download the PDF of today's lecture from my epi page and Twitter handle. Now, moving on to another item, it is about, again, we have a bit of Saudi Arabia here. Slippery slope. This one is about this rising, you can say, skyrocketing price of oil and its impact on our country. Now, recently there was a conference in which we saw all this energy or oil minister of various different important countries. They gathered, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed this gathering of this oil ministers from important countries, producers as well as some consumer countries. Now, addressing this ministers in this conference, Prime Minister talked about two important things. But before moving on to those two items, I would like to add here, and I'm sure we have talked about this thing many times, but for the sake of new student and for your revision, right, economic fortunes continue to be tied. India's economic fortunes particularly, right, are tied with this fluctuating foreign situation or oil market. And the other thing is things taking place outside India. They too have a direct influence on us, and this makes us very vulnerable. Something that is going on in Iran or Saudi Arabia or a few countries deciding that they need to do this and that, and this will impact India. So this indicates that we are at a very vulnerable position. Now, Prime Minister talked about two things. Firstly, he said that he urged oil producing countries to reduce cost of energy. And he said that the reason he said that this will help global economy to recover. The thing is, the reason why he is urging this oil producing countries is because the first thing is that oil producing countries, they are the ones who decide the price of international oil. Very strange. The second thing is that they are the ones who will decide how much supply should be supplied in the market. So this whole game of oil is about demand and supply. I'll give you a small example. If say for example, if we need 100 liter of fuel per day in our country, and if supply is, this is our demand, and if supply is just imagine 80 liter, that's what we get per day, then you can easily see that it's going to create a price rise because supply is less, more buyers, less sellers, or a particular product's demand is high but supply is less. So people who will have extra money, and the person who is selling will charge you extra money as well, isn't it? If you can afford, then you can buy it, or else you can stay out of it. So that's what we find in market when you have this sort of demand and supplies mismatch. Again, just let's convert or interchange this thing. Just imagine if demand is 80 liter per day and supply is 100. So more petrol is coming in than what we are using, and because of this thing, the price of petrol will fall down. So when Prime Minister is urging this oil producing country to reduce this cost of energy, he is talking about both the things. He is asking them to increase supply, at the same time decrease the price, because they are the ones who will decide on both these things. The second thing he also talked about, and he said that it will boost global economy, and this is right, because if when price of fuel goes up, inflation kicks in, because everything will become expensive. If everything becomes expensive, and if your income is what it is, then your saving will fall down. If your saving comes down, then you will be spending less. If you are spending less, and if you are saving less in the bank, then loans and everything will become expensive, and this ripple effect will impact the whole economy. And finally, this wheel that is in motion, this wheel of economy that is in a certain motion, the pace of that wheel will slow down. So this is what happens when price goes up, particularly in a country like our country. Now, Prime Minister also called for a review of payment terms. So he urged them that do start accepting 50. If you are buying 100 rupee worth of any item from you, or say for example oil from you, then why don't you take 50% in rupee and 50% in dollar? And if they do this thing, what will happen is we will not be in that much pressure to purchase dollar and to use our reserve that we have, this dollar reserves or forex reserve. The other thing is countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, there are other countries as well. So they do supply us oil and we do supply them food items, medicines, and so many things. So they can use the same Indian rupee to give it to us, when they are buying it. So we can do that thing for them. Of course, you have various different buyers and various different suppliers and things like that, but we can work it out. So this will help our importers as well, and this will help our exporters too. If I have your currency, then there are high chances that I will buy things from you first, because I want to use that currency. And if I'm getting good quality product at a regular supply, then I don't have any problem at all in buying things from your company or from your country. If I have this sort of facilities, if I can buy, if I have rupees, and if I can use this rupee to purchase things. Now, Saudi Arabian Energy Minister Khalid Al Fali, he said that they have boosted supply. If they would have not done this thing, then oil prices would have been too high. So basically, these are the things that were discussed, but we have to find a long-term solution. We cannot stay this vulnerable all the time, and the long-term solution is only one thing: domestic sources of energy supply. It could be fossil fuel, or it could be a new and renewable energy. Yes, new and renewable energy is a promising thing, but for that we have to think out of the box. Our youngsters, they have to think out of the box. Engineers and other people who are working in battery sector, in automobiles, and so many different areas, they have to come together. They have to do so many experiments. We have to accept failures as well. We are going to fail many a times, but trust me, if we can develop this ecosystem, if we can have a radical, when I say radical, I mean to say out of the box, all of the sudden, something new, something long lasting. If we can develop a proper ecosystem around electronic vehicles, right, then this whole political game will change. Our dependence on other countries will come down, right? Our pollution level will come down. Our cities will become a bit more green. Our transportation cost will come down, and all these things will make our products a bit more competitive in international market, and we'll start ruling the world, if I can put it this way. So it will help us a lot if we can just get breakthrough in this thing, this EVs. So that's the long-term solution, right? Or else for time being we can diversify our suppliers, but long-term solution is self-dependence, and technology is the only thing that can help us to achieve this thing. Now, security architecture without mortar. This one is about our security scenario. In recent past, we have seen that Narendra Modi government have set up this defense planning committee that looks after defense security strategy, international defense engagement strategy, roadmap to build defense manufacturing ecosystem, strategy to boost defense exports, priority capability development plans, and so many things. Now, we have this National Security Council NSC system, and this strategic policy group SPG has been revived, and it will work under this NSG. But all these things may sound good, but in reality things are not that good, because India's national security environment has steadily deteriorated since 2014. Because the thing is, if we go through the figures that are coming, that are provided by various different agencies, what we find is that overall violence in Kashmir has gone up. Ceasefire violation and overall violence is 14-year high in 2017, and the trend that is going on in 2018 as well. Doklam, we talk about Doklam yesterday as well. I think we were talking about Bhutan and Doklam. We were there supporting Doklam, but supporting Bhutan. But the reality is that if we are thinking that we are we are the final winner in this thing, then that's not right, because as per government's Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs, now this is a proper report, and as per this report, Chinese forces are back in Doklam Plateau with more force. So this thing is still is going on. It's not completely sorted out. We spend nearly $50 billion per year on defense, but then as well our defense preparedness is not up to the mark. Rhetoric is something that we find here and there. Many times we find defense uniform services personnel, they are coming out with some political statements. Like recently, Army Chief General Bipin Rawat talked about this 2.5 war, right? 2.5 front war basically, and this means that if we have to go ahead, or if we are in a state of war with China and Pakistan at the same time, then Indian Army is capable of taking them down. Pay attention here, I'm saying Indian Army, right? So this indicates that there is an absence of jointness as well when we talk about Indian Armed Forces, because Chief of Army is just talking about Indian Army rather than talking about India's defense forces, right? He's just talking about army. So this indicates, right, for our eyes, for untrained eyes, it may look all right, but for a trained eyes, people who are there in China and in Pakistan, they know that this thing now, that there is absence of coordination when it comes to Army, Navy and Air Force of our country. There is little conversation taking place between armed forces and political class, which is again dangerous thing. Our military advisor office is vacant for a very long period of time. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is a very famous person in our country, and we know that he is very patriotic, he is very brave as well. He has conducted some real life mission and things like that. We don't have any doubt at all on his capabilities, of course, but when it comes to NSA, that is National Security Advisor's Office, or this post here, we have to understand this thing, that this is not a legally mandated post. This post, or the person who is handling this thing, he or she is not directly responsible to Parliament, and most of the time we find that a retired personnel or a retired bureaucrat will be heading this NSA post. So this all things are a bit of matter, they are raising some red flags that it's not a good thing for a democratic country like our country, India. If we are having this important post, if we are giving so many powers to NSA, then we need to have, a proper transparent selection process. Again, as I told you, I'm not doubting NSA, but we have to build institutions here, right? Institutions, they last, right? We don't last, we come and go, people come and go, but institutions stay forever, and the more stronger institutions we have, the better things are going to be for our country and for us, right? And lastly, I would like to add here that we can have a sort of national security document. So it's like it's like a madhabi, or it's like a document from various different agencies will get power from this main body, or this main document that will give power to RAW, to IB, to our armed forces. If we need coordination, whatever things we need, you find it here. So for that we need all the stakeholders to come together, and they can formulate this thing here. Now, before moving ahead, dear friends, we are going to talk about this slow burn to rage very quickly. We are going to go through it because we have already talked about Me Too many a times now. But before moving ahead, I would like to add here one thing. I want you guys to judge, right, this article here. And when I say judge, I mean to say that you will be happy to know this thing, that we have talked about strategic autonomy many a times. I have explained this thing, these things and this concept, and how we should, most of the time in solutions, I have said that we have this capacity to that we can balance our relationship with Russia, China and USA independently. And here on your screen you can see former foreign secretary of our country, and a person who has been foreign secretary. You can understand that that person would be knowing more about the practical side of things. And if you go through this interview, there are two things that you will realize for sure. The first thing is that the things that we discuss here in our Hindu analysis, right, is up to date. The analysis, you will find, you will agree with me when I say this thing, that the quality of discussion that we do here is good, because you will find most of the things that we have discussed, you'll find it in this interview. The second thing is, you will also find that it becomes much easier for you to go through these things. When you go through this item, you'll find that most of the things you know about it. So it's going to be an easy read. At the same time, it will work like a revision. So do let me know, right? Please, it's very important for me as well. So please do let me know, give me your feedback, how when you are going through this article, how helpful our discussions that we had so far have been, So now a slow burn to rage. This one is about some fakes are jumping into this bandwagon of Me Too, and this is going to be a very bad thing for all those ladies out there, right? There are few ladies, maybe one or two, or maybe a bit more, but we have some mostly genuine cases of this Me Too, and then you have few cases of fakes as well, or revenge cases, or whatever it is. But it is going to create more damage, for ladies. So all those ladies who are, trying to make the most out of it, they should stay away from this sort of thing. The other thing is, what we need is institution, right? First of all, we have to understand that all the cases are not associated with rapes. Some are associated with rape. Some ladies are talking about assault. Some ladies are talking about harassment. So all these three different or other different items should be dealt separately, and they should be regarded separately. And the most important thing is, as I told you, you and I, we are going to stay here for a short period of time, but institutions, right, they do last forever. So we need this strong institutional response when it comes to investigation, when it comes to this criminal justice system, advocate services and medical services, overall safety, in buses, in public places, to make sure that we don't have any sort of dark corners anywhere in the streets. And so there are so many things at school level. So the whole society together, we have to work on this thing if we want to see, if we want to see a proper, equitable and a safe society for every one of us, right? So creating institution is the only thing that we have, is the only solution, and for that we need stakeholders' support. Now we have some news items here. 8 protesters held in late night crackdown at Nilaka, and it is about Sabrimala temple here. Now a very strange, you can say, allegation coming from Sri Lanka. Yesterday we were talking about Sri Lanka, remember, Wickramasinghe, and today you find president of that country, Maithripala Sirisena. He has alleged that RAW, that is Research and Analysis Wing, is plotting his assassination. So this is going to create severe problems between India and Sri Lanka's relationship. Supreme Court has given divorce to two couple, right, without mandatory cooling off period, because both of them were ready to drift apart just like two friends rather than being enemy with each other. So this is something that is appreciated by Supreme Court, and so this is a unique case. I think in future we may find some more this sort of cases. Jammu and Kashmir, 4th phase is just a 4.2% polling. As far as financial news are concerned, we don't have that many financial news today, and we have, but they are not directly important. Some tribal news. Australian Prime Minister's statement is going to be, we'll find it in editorials and articles in near future, right? That he has recognized. He is saying that Australia is ready to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. And here are your vocabs. I do really appreciate your answers on Wickramasinghe and Sri Lanka. And today I have one more picture for you guys. So this is a research topic for you. All right, you have to add a couple of items. Name of this person, his country and other things, and these are your answers. 2 new questions, please go through it, and thank you very much for your support. I'm so glad I have gone through your messages and positive feedbacks and other things, and it's really satisfying, right? It gives me intrinsic satisfaction that whatever work we are doing here is helping you guys, and it's not just me doing it, right? There are so many people who are associated directly and indirectly. This includes people who are supplying me newspapers, and so it's not just me. Because you hear my voice, it looks like I'm doing everything. No, it's my teachers, and there are so many, this whole platform. So it's not just on me, but yes, thank you very much for your kind words. God bless you all. Enjoy your studies. I'll see you all soon. Jai Hind.